The world froze tonight, a silence so heavy, it felt like the air itself forgot how to move. Buckingham Palace has confirmed the unthinkable Prince William's helicopter has gone down over the Lake District. The future King of Britain, the symbol of stability and strength, now lies fighting for his life. In a single moment, history trembled. What began as a calm, routine flight has turned into the darkest chapter the monarchy has faced in decades. It was meant to be nothing more than a short journey, a quick return from a charity visit in Cumbria to Windsor. But as the evening sky darkened and rain swept across the horizon, radar contact with the royal aircraft suddenly disappeared. Locals near Windermere reported an explosion so loud it shook the ground. One man said the sky just ripped open. Moments later, rescue teams arrived to find the royal helicopter buried in a hillside lake, twisted metal, broken insignia, and fragments of gold scattered across the mud inside Windsor Castle. Chaos erupted. Alarms triggered. Phones rang unanswered, and staff rushed through marble corridors in tears. Witnesses say King Charles was pale and trembling as he whispered, "Not my son. Not again." Catherine, the Princess of Wales, reportedly screamed when she heard the words of sound that echoed through the palace halls. Within minutes, she was on her way to Cumberland Infirmary under heavy police escort, clutching the wedding ring that once belonged to Princess Diana. As the royal convoy sped through the storm, news spread like wildfire. Television screens across the world flashed red banners. Breaking news: Prince William in critical condition. Across London, people gathered outside the palace gates with candles and flowers. Rain mixed with tears as the crowd stood in silence, the sound of church bells tolling through the night. It was as if grief itself had wrapped around the city. But what happened in the hours that followed would change not just the fate of one man, but the destiny of the British crown. Hours before the crash, the day had begun like any other. The royal schedule was precise and uneventful. The king was reviewing documents, Camilla preparing for a charity event, and Catherine rehearsing her speech for her foundation. William had kissed his children goodbye, promising to be home before dinner. He boarded his familiar Augusta Westland helicopter, the same aircraft he'd flown dozens of times before, smiling, confident, unaware of the storm that awaited him. At 5:16 p.m. Air traffic control lost contact. At first, it seemed routine, maybe bad weather. But as the minutes turned into an hour, silence grew unbearable. Operation Snowfall, the emergency royal response, was launched. At 6:22 p.m., police received the first call, an explosion near Windermere. By the time rescuers reached the scene, fog covered the valley like a shroud. They found the wreckage half submerged, rotor blades still spinning weakly in the mud. The pilot was gone, the co-pilot critically injured, and Prince William unconscious, pinned beneath metal, barely alive. Cumberland Infirmary became a fortress at night. Windows were sealed, corridors cleared, guards at every entrance. Catherine arrived shaking, soaked in rain, and collapsed beside her husband's bed. "William, please," she whispered, her hand trembling against his. King Charles reached moments later, clutching his mother's rosary, his face hollowed by fear. The royal family, often untouchable, distant, suddenly looked human, fragile, and terrified. At 7:07 p.m., the official statement broke the world's heart. The Prince of Wales has sustained severe injuries. His condition remains critical. The royal family requests privacy and prayers. Those final two words and prayers echoed across continent. Britain stopped. The world wept. But behind closed doors, the story was far from over. As doctors fought to keep William alive, whispers of something darker began to emerge. Military investigators reported irregularities in the flight's navigation data, anomalies that didn't match the weather reports or pilot's route. Princess Anne, always the realist, told the king bluntly, this wasn't just bad luck. Charles refused to believe it until later that night, when new evidence arrived. The helicopter's autopilot had been manually overridden by a signal that didn't come from inside the cockpit. The possibility of sabotage turned fear into fury. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Prince Harry was boarding a flight back to London. He had dropped everything the moment he heard the news. Meghan released a short statement from California. "We pray for William. We pray for the family." It was a message that cut through years of silence violence between the brothers. Back in London, thousands stood in the rain outside Buckingham Palace. Some prayed, others just watched the palace windows, hoping for a light to flicker any sign of hope. Inside, Catherine refused to leave her husband's side. She spoke softly to him about their children, about home, about how much he was loved. Doctors warned the next 24 hours were crucial. One surgeon was overheard saying, "It will take a miracle." The next morning, Britain woke to a grim but determined calm. Newspapers carried a single headline: Prince William fights for life. Vigils grew across the world: Sydney, Toronto, New York, every city echoing the same prayer. But beneath that unity, suspicion was spreading fast. Was this truly an accident? Or was something far more sinister at play? Late that night, King Charles received a classified update from investigators. Their findings were chilling. The aircraft's communication channel had been compromised mid-flight. Someone or something had interfered with the royal helicopter. The king's voice cracked as he read the line aloud. Someone wanted that helicopter to fall and warned him, "If we hide this, we'll lose the people's trust." Charles stared at her, his voice low. "If we tell them, we may lose the country." As dawn broke, Catherine, exhausted and sleepless, felt William's fingers twitch. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but real. She gasped, calling the nurse. He moved. For the first time in days, the word hope returned to the palace. By sunrise, the doctors confirmed minimal neural response. The statement from Buckingham was short, almost whispered through tears. "His Royal Highness has shown early signs of recovery." The crowd outside erupted. Cheers, applause, sobs. A nation dared to breathe again. Catherine stepped outside later that day, her voice soft but steady. "He's listening. I know it." That clip spread around the world in minutes. A symbol of resilience and grace. But even as the royal family clung to hope, investigators released a single, devastating phrase to the press: "External interference confirmed." Within hours, conspiracy theories exploded online. Talk shows debated whether it was a hack, a political attack, or something buried deeper within royal security. That evening, King Charles addressed the nation. His voice was slow, heavy with exhaustion. "My son continues to fight with the courage and grace that define him. We asked for your prayers and for your faith." For the first time, the king's mask broke. The cameras caught the tremor in his voice, not as a monarch, but as a father. And then, just as London's midnight bells began to toll, a quiet miracle unfolded in that sterile hospital room. The monitors flickered and Prince William's lips moved. Catherine leaned forward, tears streaming down her face. "William," she whispered. His voice was hoarse, barely there. "Am I home?" Outside, the crowd erupted into cheers that echoed across the Thames. Bells rang, candles flared, and for the first time in days, the world exhaled. Britain had found its heartbeat again. The prince had survived, and though questions about the crash remain, who caused it, and why, one truth has already reshaped the monarchy forever: power may command a nation, but it is love, loss, and the will to endure that command the world's heart. If this story moved you tonight, take a moment. Where are you watching from? London, Toronto, Manila? Because wherever you are, the world just witnessed something extraordinary. The moment Britain nearly lost its future and found its humanity instead.